Welcome back to Unladylike Opinions. This is my hair in my mouth. All American Season 4, Episode 5. Can it all be so simple? No, it cannot. This is gonna be lengthy, so prepare. So, flies. The episode started off with Spencer, Billy, Grace, and Laura sitting at the table talking about, the Coach Hudson refusing to release Spencer from the Toledo State not binding, but letter of consent. Commitment, something like that. So Laura said, she gonna fight this tooth and nail, whatever, because Laura is a lawyer. And she said no matter what school he chooses to go to, she's still gonna fight it, and he gonna play in the fall. And Grace tells him, to have patience. And Laura said, these cases will take some time. And Spence was like, no disrespect, but I don't have time to find schools. Most of the top programs are already done offering scholarships. And then Billy said, it's some good coaches in town, and he gonna try to get them to come see Spencer. And Spencer's like, nobody is going to want to fool with me with this big penalty I have over my head. And then they flash over to Patience in the studio singing her little heart out. And she comes out the studio, and Layla tells her that the song is perfect and the album can drop sooner than they thought. And she wants Patience to go on tour and headline the tour, since Coop can't go. But Patience feels like she is replacing Coop, and she wants to make sure Coop is cool with it, so she wants time to talk to Coop about it. And Layla was like, this is business, this is my business. I'm trying to run a business, and opportunities like this doesn't come every day, and I need to know you want this like you used to, and if you don't, I need to find me somebody else. And I'm like, cold-blooded. So she tells her she got 48 hours to get back to her, and Patience just sitting there looking stupid like, and I'm like, that's what Coop was feeling when you told her. So had that same energy. So Liv is finishing up her AA meeting, NAAA, I can't remember. When a girl walks up to her and thanks her for her speech, and she was like, I thank you for your speech. You got me through a lot. And, she started reciting the speech back to Liv that she wrote. And she tells her, she was able to reconnect with her parents because of the things that she said in her speech. And, Liv goes over to her sponsor, and she tells her, her sponsor was like, I'm so proud of you. And she was like, I want you to share your story to the new members. And Liv doesn't want to overshadow anyone new coming in. And she was like, they love you and they really want to hear your story. So then we see Spence run into Billy at school, and he tells Billy that Toledo State put out this this thing, like basic like a newsletter, saying that he decommitted. He put it all on their website, and he was like, it's some harsh comments on there about him. And Billy telling him like, don't let that get in your head. He was like, Spencer was like, no coach is gonna want me after all this. And Billy was like, Billy took the phone out of his hand and was like, have faith, I got a plan. And I'm like, okay, I want to see what this plan is. And then we see them all on the football field, and then Billy comes out and he announces that he decided to throw them a combine. So with some of the best coaches already there, they got some of the best coaches already there in the country. And he said he knows some of them some of the players haven't been noticed yet. And he was like, so he wants to help them get, noticed, and he wanted to do something about them not being, no colleges picking them up yet or whatever. So they think this is a dope idea, and they're excited about it, and they start, playing around on the field. And then we see Asher and Jordan going over some plays, and Asher is really good at drawing out these plays or whatever. I'm really hoping he considered, since football is his first love and he can no longer play, he could at least be close with it, with like helping with at least coaching or helping with run plays or something, like not run plays, but drawing them. And JJ shows up with his camera crew talking about some, he documented their senior year, they senior season since it's ending, and he tells them, you know, he planned to be trying out for the quarterback position at the combine. And Ash was like, you sure about that? You only played like 4 games. And he was like, you know, it's not the right choice. You know, you've been playing linebacker all your life. That's the right position for you. And but you know, JJ not listening, and he said, you know, I'm gonna be a quarterback, and that's that, or whatever. And you know, then we see Spencer at the cafe, you know, packing up his stuff, getting ready to go, when he runs into somebody, and that person knows his daddy Corey, and he is Coach Kenny Boone. And he said they met at his dad's funeral, and Spencer was like, he tells Spencer not to let what Toledo State did to him get in his head. And he was like, your dad would be so proud of you. And he was like, he always said that you was different, and you would be something. And you know, he tells Spencer later on they should link up, and he said, I could tell you stories about your father. And Spencer was like, you know, shoot, how about now? You doing anything now? And, you know, he was like, no, okay, cool. And they go hang out and have coffee or whatever. So then you see Liv is back at the meeting, you know, telling her story to the group. But it's this girl there, and she just keeps texting and paying attention to her phone, laughing out loud. And she ain't paying no attention. And then she's pecking on his phone. The pecking was so loud. I don't know why y'all keep that haptic feedback on y'all phone. That irritates the hell out of me. Liv said, what did Liv say in her little speech? She said something about you chose a fix over your family. I think that's what she said. And I guess that triggered the girl. The girl just got up and just walked out or whatever. And then, you know, Liv asked her sponsor, like, you know, what's up with the girl? And she was like, she's 15. She was acting out, and she's only here because her parents got a court order and placed her here. And her sponsor, you know, said something Olivia said must have triggered something in her. And she was like, you know, I think you would be the perfect person to, you know, mentor her, because you're closer in age and your attitude is basically almost the same. And she was like, your story has a very big impact. And Liv is like hesitant because she feels like she is just now finding her way. She said she can't handle someone like Jen, and the girl, her sponsor was like, why? Because she a mini you? And I'm like, oh wow. So she was like, but I understand if you can't handle that right now, but you know, keep an open mind later on. So the day of the combine is here, and they all doing their little scratches, getting their body ready, and Spencer's trying to focus. But then he sees Coach Boone, and Billy tells him that is the receiver coach for, you know, Golden Angeles, I think. I don't know. I can't remember how they pronounce it. I knew it wasn't how it's spelled. So Spencer, like, you know, he didn't say nothing to me when we hung out last night. And he was like, he don't know why he didn't tell him. He was like, Spencer doesn't know why he didn't tell him that he was recruiting. And Billy tells him, you know, not to worry about none of that. Just focus on balling out today. And he tells the rest of them, you know, to do the same. And so they start showing off their skills. And, of course, they, you know, killing it. Then Billy walks over to one of the recruiters and asks, you know, what he was thinking. And, you know, he got his eye on Spencer, but he says, you know, he was like, he is a good player, but can I trust him? And I'm like, what? He was like, because rumor has it, and I was like, oh, here. Toledo State built their whole offense around him, Spencer James, a freshman, and he spilled out on them. He still bailed out on them. You know, where is the loyalty? And Billy said loyalty isn't a problem for Spencer James. If anything, he is too loyal, and that's another thing that adds to his greatness. And, you know, Billy walks off. And I'm like, so they just gonna tarnish Spencer's name since he won't go to he doesn't want to play for them. They gonna make sure that nobody else want him on their team. Just crazy. So Coop and Amina, which is Preacher's daughter, walking and talking, and she admiring some of Coop's old songs. And Coop tells her, you know, she can talk about anything to her. You know, I know sometimes you can't talk to your pops about things, but you know, nothing is off limits to talk to me. But as soon as she's getting ready to talk to Coop, Patience walk up. And Amina was like, I'm just gonna go outside or whatever. And then, Patience like, oh man, I think I messed it up. That was messed up timing on my part. And Coop tells her, she saw Amina looking up articles of Mo, her mom, and how she died. And she was like, Priest took her on a road trip to get her mind off of it, but Coop like thinks that she's still holding something back or whatever. And Coop asked Patience, how the album process was going, and Patience was like, she tried to downplay it and say it was really good. It was good, and Leah walks up and says, as she's saying the album was good, Leah walks up and says, "Wait, that album is amazing. Layla plays it all the time in her room. The fans gonna love it on tour." And I'm like, girl, shut up. So Patience was like looking at Liv and she was like, girl, stop. But then Cooper already caught it, and she was like, what tour? And Patience was like, Layla was putting together a tour for her, and then Patience found an excuse and her and Olivia walk off. And then we get JJ trying out for quarterback, and we see, I hate to call him something else, but I'm gonna call him, we see the coach from Toledo State or whatever, and he out there, and I'm like, ugh, why he there? So JJ doing a horrible job at quarterback, and he gets mad and tells his cameraman, to cut the camera. And I'm like, you wanted this or whatever. And then, Asher runs over to him and tells him, it's still time for him to turn things around. The linebacker drill hasn't started yet. And he tells him to show all the coaches how elite he really is. And JJ like, all the coaches gone, bruh. And Asher said, well, everyone likes a good comeback. You just need one offer. So JJ agrees, and then he runs off the field. So then you see Liv and Patience walking down the hallway, and Liv apologized for overstepping, and Patience like, it's cool, I was going to have to tell her anyway, but she isn't sure if she really want to go on tour. And she tells Patience, about her taking the next step to be a sponsor, and Patience was like, I thought you already was a sponsor because you're so good at it. And then as she's talking to Patience, she hears someone voice on the phone, and she recognized the voice, and it's Jen, the little girl she's supposed to be sponsoring. And so Chris and Jordan are arguing over who gonna be Spencer quarterback, because they was like, the only quarterback other than us two has been Darnell. So which one of us you gonna choose? And he starts smiling, and Spencer starts smiling because I guess he got this bright idea. And then we see both of them. He used both of them as his quarterback for different things or whatever. And they all killing it, together. They all work well together. And the other coaches are in awe, but then Toledo coach over there, and he got his little stank face going on. So Jordan throws the ball to Spencer, and the coach from Angels, I don't know, tell them to, run that play back. And they do, and it's even more impressive the second time around. And afterwards, him and Jordan shake hands and hug. Spencer and Jordan shake hands and do their little handshake and they hug or whatever. And Jordan said, this is to the end of an era. And, Jen and Olivia go for a little walk where they walking back to the little bench by the field. And she's surprised that Spencer James is Olivia's boyfriend. And she was like, you see the boy that's throwing the ball to him, that's my brother. And Jen is geeked about this and says that the championship game was epic. And, she breaking down all the plays that happened in the game. And I'm like, girl, you sound like me. Oh, my God. She says football is her second love. And I'm like, girl, me too. Because basketball was my first and football was my second. Or whatever. And she said her cousin Troy plays for South Crenshaw. That is why she's there. Or whatever. And Olivia asks her, what was your first love? What is your first love? And she was like, or do I dare to know or whatever? And she tells her, no, it's not drugs, Judgy, but ballet is my life. And Liv is shocked by this, and she was like, she says, she was obsessed with ballet at one point, and then she asks Jen, was it amphetamines and that landed you in AA? And she says, sadly, you know, I know a lot of dancers that used it to stay focused. And Jen said her parents caught her sniffing it, and they got a court order and sent her back to rehab. And Olivia said, you know, at least they care about you. And Jen was like, you know, they was prescribed and everyone else was doing them, but in my parents' eyes, and Olivia cuts her off and says, you know, you were putting your fix over the ones you love, and that's why you left the meeting. What I said hit close to home. And she says, yeah, but my bad, I don't, you know, have a problem. If I don't believe, she was like, I don't have a problem, and if you don't believe me, you know, be my sponsor. And Liv hesitates, and Jen says, oh, or not, and she like runs off or whatever. And JJ is on the field for the linebacker drills, and of course he's killing it as a linebacker, like Asher said he would. And afterwards, they are all sitting on the steps, and Jordan talking about how tired he was, whatever. And Asher tells them, you know, tells all of them, you know, you all did great out there. And then Billy walks up and tells JJ, you know, it's a coach that's want to talk to you. And he's sitting there stuck, and Asher was like, dude, this is where you're supposed to leave, or whatever. And then, you know, Billy tells Spencer at least 3 schools want to speak to him later on. And Jordan is geek for Spencer, and Spencer asks, you know, what about Jordan? You know, he balled out today. He did, you know, very good. And Billy said there was a lot of interest, but no meetings yet. And Jordan was like, it's cool, Dad. I'm fine with, you know, playing JUCO for a year. So then we get Coop looking at all her old videos of her and Patience, and Amina walks over and she asks her, you know, what she wanted to tell her. And she said she wants to ask about a friend who is doing some bad stuff and she doesn't agree with, and she likes him and she want to have his back, but she doesn't know how to. And, you know, she asks Coop, you know, should she stay loyal or walk away? And Coop tells her it depends on what you got to lose, but you got to do what's best for you, and a real friend will understand your choice. And I think at this moment it was no longer about Amina, it was about Coop and Patience. And Coop was thinking about how she should accept Patience things that Patience want to do. So Ashley and Jordan are playing video games when they get a knock at the door, and it's JJ. And JJ said that he was offered a scholarship to Coastal California. And at first I didn't pick up on it, but I seen Asher face and I was like, oh wait, that's where Asher was supposed to go. And then so, you know, Asher was like, you know, dude, that scholarship was for me or whatever. And he was like, dang. And then we get back to Spencer, and all 3 schools offer him all 3 schools, you know, stop there to talk to him, and all of them offer him a scholarship. And Spencer's like, what if my situation lasts longer what if my situation lasts longer? Did none of these coaches say that they would hold my spot? And Billy tells him to stop doing that to himself, and Loris, you know, is taking care of it. And Spencer said, this is the most attention I ever received, but yet I'm still being held hostage by Coach Hudson. And then Spencer walks off. So Billy looking in the air like Boosie, I need to fix this itch. My J-Lo at home, and I need my bitch. My bad. Ooh, my bad. And Coach Boone comes over to see Spencer. And Spencer said, what is going on? That's the 3rd time I done seen you in 2 days. And he was like, I done seen you. And he said, running into you was an accident the first time, but at the combine was on purpose. And he asked him to come to Golden Angeles. And Spence like, excuse me? And Coach was like, he would have said something earlier, but he wanted to prove to his boss that Spencer was worth the fight and he was the right fit. And he was like, I'm officially offering you a scholarship. And Spencer asked what the other coaches thought of him, and he said, I'm sitting here right now offering you a spot, right? Ain't I? And he said he would be the perfect fit because they also place a premium on education, which he knows is very important to Spencer. And Spencer is like, so it's honesty. It was like, Coach tells him, you know he was burned by Toledo State, but this is different. And he asks how, and coach says simple. This is home for me. He was like, I went to school at Carson, and this is the reunion that I've been waiting on my whole life. And he said, you know, him and Corey, Spencer dad, used to talk all the time about coming home. And Spence started getting a little choke up, teary out or whatever. And Coach Boone tells him, you know, Spencer tells Coach Boone he gonna weigh his options with the other offers that he got. And Coach was like, I understand, and you should do that. And he tells him if he got to sit out his freshman year because of what Toledo State did to him, then he cool with it, because Spencer is worth the wait to him. And then he leaves. Then Billy and the coach from Toledo State talking in Billy's office. And Coach Hudson said that there is honor in his word Spencer signed on a dotted line. And Billy was like, yeah, when he thought Dante was going to be his receiver coach, which you knew he wasn't, but you chose not to tell Spencer that when he signed on the dotted line. And he tries to say no coach is bigger than the program, not even me. And I'm like, blah, 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 whatever. So Billy said Spencer is a kid that leads with his heart and connection. And connection means everything to him. And when he lost Coach Dante, he lost that connection. And Coach Hudson was like, you know, he made a commitment. That's what he keeps saying. So Billy asked him straight up, do you really want Spencer to play for you, or is this just a way of you punishing him? Because we both know that precedent for releasing a player for their commitment when there has been a change in the coaching. Do you really want to be that coach that holds the players hostage against their will in these times of days? And Coach Hudson is like, I don't like what you are insinuating. And I'm like, what? He insinuating the truth? Because that's all he is insinuating. So Billy said, oh, I'm not insinuating anything. I'm speaking facts. And I'm like, facts. And if you don't let him out his letter of intent, and I'm gonna make sure every recruiter in the nation knows about how you and your methods. Social medias are hungry, and once the kids find out, it's gonna be over for you, baby. So cancel culture is something else, and you will be done in 24 hours, because you know no coach is bigger than a team, right? And I'm like, okay, Billy, burned them. So Asher goes to see Liv, and she asks, you know, has he seen JJ? And he said he can't believe he said what he said to JJ. And he was like, I was such an ass to him. And Layla agreed. And I'm like, you should know, because you've been acting the same way. But, you know, go ahead. And Asher said he thought he was over losing football, but seeing JJ get his scholarship hurt even more. And Layla was like, that is perfectly normal and okay for you to feel that way. And it closed a chapter on your life, one you've been writing since you were a kid. And Asher says, now it's JJ's turn, and I should be there for him. And Layla says, you know, you've been there for JJ, and we'll be there for him again eventually. You just had a human moment. And he asks if she'll talk to JJ for him, and she said no, but put your big boy pants on and handle it. And Coop comes over to see Patience, and she apologized for making it hard for her to celebrate what's been going on with her career. And Patience tells her she didn't make it hard for her. You know, she just lost something she loved, and she was trying to be sensitive to Coop's feelings. And Coop tells her never to walk on eggshells around her. She tells her to go ahead and headline the tour. It is your time. And she asks Coop, like, you know, come with me to Vegas. Well, Coop said, you know, Vegas is where you need to be right now. Right now, I need to be here. Amina needs me because I'm the reason that her mom is dead. She needs me real bad right now. And she was like, I want you to go on tour, but I'm going to stay here. And, you know, Patience is like pissed, I believe. I ain't no believe. Patience is pissed, but she don't say nothing. She was like, walks away and say she get it, and we have to do what we both have to do, right? And then we see Billy coming in the house talking on the phone about a meeting for Chris, and Jordan asks was Chris meeting with Frasso and at the school tomorrow. And I know I'm saying their name wrong, but I don't remember how they pronounce it. Don't judge me. So Billy tells him, you know, Jordan, listen. And Jordan stops in and was like, Dad, no, it's cool. And Billy is like, no, it's not cool. You deserve. He was like, you deserve an opportunity. And Jordan was like, and I agree with you. And he's saying this as they're walking to the kitchen. And Jordan was like, and so does Coach Garrett, who just offered me a preferred walk-on at Golden Angeles University. And Billy's sitting there with his mouth wide open like, what? And Coach Garrett says the last thing he was looking for at the combine was a quarterback. But he saw Jordan play and he was so impressed with him. And then, you know, he leaves. And Jordan and Billy, you know, hug it out. And he tells Jordan how proud of him he is. So Olivia and Spencer are talking in a living room about Jen. And she just rubbing all over him and massaging his muscles and stuff. And I'm like, I know y'all, you know, not teenagers in real life. But y'all could make it more believable. Well, in my household, my mama would not let me be in my room. We had to stay in the living room, baby. We couldn't go in no room with no door closed and I'm rubbing. Boy, no. My mama did not play that. And, hold on. So, she tells him Jen asked her to be her sponsor. And, you know, she was like, I froze. And she said, when I froze, she took it as a no. And she was like, she doesn't think Jen wants help. She just wants somebody to enable her that's going to sign her court order and look the other way. And Spence said she just might fall. She just might fall if nobody steps in and call her out on her BS. And he was like, you know, it's your choice, but if it's a chance of helping her, then you should take it. And she tells him the same applies to him and Coach Kenny. Coach Boone, Kenny Boone, I think that's his whole name, but now they say him Kenny. And Spencer is like, I got options now. I got options, baby. I got options. So Spencer's like, I got options now. Something I didn't have, you know, before. And Olivia said, but did you connect with them like you did with Kenny? And he said, yes, Coach Dante. And I was like, oh, hell, here we go. So she tells him this isn't like with when Coach Dante left or when your dad left. And he looks to her and says, of course you get it. You get it. That's, you know, I guess that's what it was all about. It was about his dad leaving, just like, you know, Coach Dante left, just like his dad leaving. So she tells him it sounds to her that Coach Kenny is committed to him the same way everyone is. Her dad, all the other coaches that's been in his life. And she was like, Coach Kenny is like the last link to Corey. And then they hear screaming and laughing and they run downstairs. And as they get down the stairs, Jordan tells Liv to get ready to rock some Golden Angeles gear to his game this fall. And Spencer is like, what? And, you know, because Spencer got offered at the same school. That's where Coach Kenny is. And then he congratulate him on his, Laura congratulate him on his 3 offers. And Billy tells him, you know, he spoke to Coach Hudson and he's good. You are now a free man, Spencer James. And Spencer is like, what? And he's geeked and they all hug each other, whatever. And then you see Asher catching up to JJ and he apologized to him and tell him, you know, you earned that scholarship. And JJ said, you really messed me up. And he looking like, look, I apologize. But JJ was like, no, you became my coach that day. You set a high bar for me. So what am I going to do without you? And Asher tells him, you know, go kick some ass. And I didn't do much. And JJ was like, man, you pushed Jordan to do better, and then you got in my head right for the comeback. You got my head right for the comeback, and not to think about the plays you called for us, and then at the plays you drawed out on the sideline. If that's not a coach, I don't know what is. And I'm like, see, Asher, it's your way you can still be connected to football that you can't play, but you still can be connected with doing something. Like you go to school or do what Coach Montez asked you to do, help her or whatever. So Liv arrives to the meeting and she tells Jen, you know, she will be her sponsor. And she tells Jen, and Jen was like, the offer is off the table. And Liv says, too late. You already asked, and you're going to have to earn my signature for your court order. You're going to accept this because you know I am the best person for you. So grab your cookie and let's sit down. I'm like, damn, Liv. So her sponsor come over and like, the queen has spoken. And Coop is in the cafe, you know, looking at all on Patience Instagram. And Amina is watching Coop old videos on her computer with her headphones in. But she pulls down this picture. And it's a picture of Coop And it say Coop is the Grim Reaper, and the person that she supposed to be the Grim Reaper of is Sean. No, it's her mama, Sean, and Uncle Tyrone. I'm like, Coop. Look like little Mina is just like her mama. So she asked Amina about her friend, and Amina said she stand for now, but she still think he is involved in some rocket stuff. But he is my friend. And Coop said you chose loyalty. And I was like, well, Coop, I think this friend she referred to is you. So you might want to keep an eye out, because baby girl plotting on you, Coop. She plotting just like her mama. So Spence, Coach Kenny comes over to see Spencer, and Spencer's thanking him for coming by, and he asks him, you know, when you said I was worth the wait, did you really mean that? And he said, yes, sir. And Spence said, you know, it was always his dream to play college ball at home. And now with his brother Jordan on the same team, that makes it twice as special. So if I'm worth the wait, then you worth taking a chance on. And it's going to be nice having a piece of my pop's history there with me. And then he asked, you know, was he going to stay at Golden Angeles? And Kenny was like, I better. I just signed a 5-year contract. And Spence was like, what? Oh, yeah, good. I'm going to be in the NFL long before your contract is over. And they shake hands, and he calls him his coach. And that was the end of the episode. Or whatever. I wonder what... Well, did I see what's coming next week? If I did, I don't remember. But anyway, that was the end of the episode. That was my review of All American. It's Thanksgiving week, so of course everything gonna be late. So you get over it. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will get back to you guys later. Deuces.